think especially right now, this is a good time for people to ground their energy, as we're in a very stressful situation with what's going on in the world, being in quarantine, being on lockdown, and a lot of us have a lot of time if we're not working. So if you have a yard or you have a good spot, just go out there and make some contact with the ground and start to feel more connected and hopefully feel better and feel less stressed. So find a way to... Hello everyone, my name is Monica and thank you so much for coming to our Lightworker community. For today's video, we're going to be talking about 3 ways to ground yourself. So this is a video I've been meaning to make for a while. I believe in an earlier video, which was my self-care routine and what I eat in a day, I mentioned I was going to do a video on grounding and I hadn't done it yet, so it's still been kind of in the back of my mind to do. And last night as I was thinking about it, I got a synchronicity from the universe, so that is what we're going to talk about today. When you think of grounding, you probably think of wires, electricity, things like that in your home. All of the plugs need to be properly grounded so that they don't short circuit and maybe set a fire, or it could also cause injury or death to a person if they're in that situation. It can cause a lot of harm. So everything needs to be properly grounded. And for humans, we are all energy. The earth is energy. Our appliances have energy. Everything is made of energy. So just like those appliances, it's really good for humans to also be grounded and actually make physical contact with the earth whenever possible, because we're now living in a society where we no longer really are physically in touch with the earth like we used to be back in the day. We now have elevated beds and we sleep indoors and we have artificial floors or even wood or cement, whatever you have, and then we wear insulated shoes with synthetic soles. I know Ralph Smart from Infinite Waters always says that they stole your soul, meaning that they invented shoes, so now that we're wearing synthetic soles, we don't get to connect our soul to the earth again by being barefoot. Real quick, I want to talk about the benefits of grounding. I'm not going to go too much into the science part of it, as I don't know like a ton about that, but some of the benefits of grounding or earthing yourself is decreased levels of inflammation and pain, reduced stress levels, improved circulation, and just feeling better in general. So let's take a moment and talk about positive and negative ions. Counterintuitively, positive ions can have a negative effect on your body, while negative ions can actually have a positive effect on your body. Positive ions can cause health issues like fatigue and drowsiness, and when you're in your car or home or office, the air in the enclosed space can get taken over by the positive ions. Electronics such as your TV, computer, and phone also create positive ions, which can trap and neutralize the negative ones. The earth is naturally full of negative ions, so by earthing or grounding, we can neutralize the positive ions in our body and get more of the negative ions from the earth, which in turn creates positive health benefits. Our ancestors used to live outside, work outside, and sleep outside, so they experienced these positive health benefits. So the first way that I like to ground myself is by using the grounding mat and sleeping on it every night. I got into grounding last year because I kept having these memories as a child, and I was trying to remember what it was about being a child that I felt more connected to myself, connected to the earth, just connected in general. And I kept having memories of me being barefoot a lot as a kid. So I grew up in Florida and I was maybe about an hour drive from the beach. And I went to the beach a lot during the summer. So I was constantly having my bare feet on the ground and the sand and in the water. And I just generally didn't really care for shoes. I wore flip-flops a lot, of course it being Florida, so flip-flops and sandals. And at school, I remember in elementary school when we still had recess, and when I was in an after-school daycare, they would take us outside again for recess, and we'd be outside for quite a while. And I'd always kick off my shoes as soon as I got to the playground, and I would be playing on the jungle gym and the monkey bars and just having a fun time without my shoes. The same thing with being at home. I was walking around barefoot a lot, whether it was just on the road that was in front of my house. I lived in a very small town and there wasn't like a lot of traffic, or on the sidewalk or in the grass in my yard. And I just started remembering how good that felt. And I hadn't done that in a long time, especially since I moved from Florida and I no longer am by a body of water to go swimming in. And I decided that I wanted to start grounding or earthing, and I started doing some research and looking into it. And it was winter time when I wanted to do this, so obviously I was not going to take my shoes off and stick my feet on the frozen ground. So what I had found was an earthing mat, and I believe it's the original earthing mat that was created. And it was pretty cool. I got it off Amazon, I believe, and it came with this book titled Earthing, the Most Important Discovery Ever. And then it also came with this little movie called The Earthing Movie. So those were little bonus gifts. It also comes with a device to plug into an outlet to make sure that it's properly grounded before you actually use your mat in that circuit. And the mat is really good for if you want to sit on it, if you want to stand on it, even for like 5-10 minutes a day. What I've been doing is I sleep on it, and to be honest, it's not very comfortable because it's not made for that. But I had already bought it and I didn't really want to return it and exchange it for a proper one. There are actually grounding mats that you can put on your mattress that's specifically designed for that. So I recommend that more if you want to sleep grounded, especially if you don't feel like you have time or you necessarily just want to sit for a few minutes or stand for a few minutes on the mat itself. And also if you want to get a longer grounding time. That's why I like to ground, because I just feel more connected and I just feel just really good. I don't know, my energy just feels good. I can kind of tell the difference if I forget to ground for a night, or if I go on vacation somewhere and I don't have my mat, I can feel the difference. Second way that I like to ground myself is by actually taking off my shoes and walking barefoot on the earth. And I know this is not really easy or maybe possible for some people, maybe if they live in areas where they don't have a yard. I know I didn't have a yard, so it was a little more difficult, and parks can be sprayed with pesticides and your feet absorb a lot of things, so I don't think it's the healthiest. Like, I wouldn't recommend putting your feet on the earth if you know there's a lot of pesticides, because that can absorb into your body. But if you can, especially like I said, beaches, anywhere you can swim are usually a good place to take off your shoes. I don't think it really necessarily works very good through like concrete, but if you can get your feet on dirt, on grass, on stone, something very natural like that, that would be the best. And then if there are pesticides, or maybe you just don't feel comfortable taking off your shoes, the next best way I would say is to sit directly on the ground, so your butt is touching the ground. You can also lay down on the ground. You can be grounded that way as well. So the third way that I like to ground myself is by eating root vegetables. As a vegan, I eat a lot of vegetables, so I typically have a lot of potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, radishes, those sort of foods that come directly from the ground. I believe that will also help to ground your energy by eating more of the root vegetables. And I've just named a few ways that you can ground yourself. There are so many more, but these are my top 3 ways. A few bonus extras I could say is, I've read that if you have a pet, like a dog or cat, and they're outside on the ground, you can pet them, and since they're grounded, by touching them, you're also going to become grounded. That goes also if you're around people who are pretty grounded, meaning that they're very centered, they seem pretty strong, they seem not very stressed, they just just kind of calm and collected. Those are the people you want to be around so you feel grounded. Their grounded energy can be transferred to you just by being around them, since again, everything is energy. You can also go out and hug a tree if you don't feel too embarrassed to do that. You can use essential oils. You can focus on your breathing. Breathing can tend to bring you in the present, which is also very grounding. You can also focus on your body, like starting maybe from your toes, and feel every single part of your body internally, because a lot of times we don't put focus on every single part of our body. Like right now, I'm not aware of my pinky until I bring awareness to my pinky, so I may not realize that maybe I'm feeling hot or I'm feeling cold or maybe numb in some area. So that is a good way to kind of ground your energy and just become very centered and focused in yourself. That is my video for today. I hope that helped you learn a little bit more about grounding, the benefits of grounding, why I ground, how to ground. And I think especially right now, this is a good time for people to ground their energy, as we're in a very stressful situation with what's going on in the world, being in quarantine, being on lockdown, and a lot of us have a lot of time if we're not working. So if you have a yard or you have a good spot, just go out there and make some contact with the ground and start to feel more connected and hopefully feel better and feel less stressed. All right, beautiful souls, until next time, I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.